Now, this doesn't happen overnight, and takes training. It's part of a process. And as we just talked about, it is absolutely necessary and critical in a family that both of these roles be present, masculinity and femininity. And unfortunately, the sacrament received at the altar, at the marriage ceremony, is not a light switch where all of a sudden, because they received the vows, that they receive their proper roles. It has to be through training and what they have been taught. So again, first and foremost, they have to have the example set by the dad. And so what do they see in the dad as far as what masculinity is supposed to be that they are to imitate? So we as fathers should be showing an example of seriousness, that we take things seriously, that we take our jobs seriously. You know, I think they should see us being busy about our duties as husbands and fathers. They should observe that. They should see us in our jobs, in our business, being serious about business. And then that business shouldn't overtake us. We shouldn't be so weak to to become workaholics and let it take us in. But that business be at the service of our family. Again, family comes number one. And then our responsibility, our duty as the providing their formation and raising the family. Where we are not just putting policies into place and then going off, but that we are intimately involved in their upbringing. That we walking side by side with them and training them and teaching them as they grow up. And how can this happen when the father is not there, if that's his role, if that's his responsibility? And that's most obvious in the case of divorce, when the dad isn't present. But it's also happening quite a bit when the marriage is still intact, but dad is there, but he's not there. He might not be physically present as much as he should be. Or he might be physically present, but not really there. All things we need to be careful of. So, how does it? Let's look at the development. And we've heard these little things before. Some of us, anyway. You know, in the preschool stage, you know, all you got to do is walk by the sandbox, and you can figure it out. And nobody has to teach us. Nobody has to train us. And it shows you of the natural inclination and the natural characteristics of masculinity and femininity. You just walk by the sandbox and you hear the little girls talking, or they're singing, and everybody's singing a happy little tune, and then you look over at the boys and they're, you know, running trucks or blowing things up and all those kinds of rambunctious things. That's masculinity and femininity in its most common sense. And as far as the boys go, you know, they are not girls. You know, and the tendency of today's culture is to try to blur the two, to make them both something in the middle. So we see over and over and over again boys being given drugs to calm them down, make them still, keep them still, ADD and Ritalin and on and on. And what do they do with the girls? As soon as they go to school, what do you want to be when you grow up? God help her if she says a mommy. And, you know, and from there that starts with grade school and on, preparing them for a career to compete, putting them in sports events to be competitive. Okay? And so then we have the blurring coming together. And neither one of them makes good of the other. A boy doesn't make a good girl, a girl doesn't make a good boy. How about the toys they like to play with? You put a bunch of toys out there, and what the boy's going to go grab the swords and the guns. You know, and that's what they play with. You don't have to train them to do that. They're just going to normally do that. just natural. That's the way God made them. That's the way it's supposed to be. And we've heard that whole story where to try to get the boys to be a little more civilized, gave them baby dolls to play with, and went back and checked on them later. They had them tied up, and they were doing kind of a seance on them, not a seance, Indian dance around them or something. Had beheaded them or something like that. Nobody told them to do that. It's boys. Next stage, adolescence. They growing up, becoming teenagers. We give them duties. We give them responsibilities. Give them a sense of belonging and that they're important. And strenuous things to do, especially to take out this energy that God has given them. Normally around our place, it's a coming of age when you can cut grass. We usually start cutting grass at 10. Put them behind that lawnmower, and about a month later they don't learn anymore. But they're all pumped about getting started cutting grass. Construction or destruction, whatever the need is, the duties that they could have involving those things. We bought a piece of property with an older home on it, and my whole plan there was that this thing needs a ton of work, and I got a slew of boys, and we're gonna make something of this place, and we have, and we're still working on it. It's gonna take a lot of work, but anyway, just keeping that property up. After doing the work to clear it and get it right, just keeping it up requires 3 of us, to work on it. And but the things the boys have learned, they know how to take apart the ride mower better than I do. Remember Daniel saying, "Remember how we did this with the starter and all that?" And I had forgotten, but it's those things that they get to learn and we're doing it together. And that's how it's supposed to work. Dads are supposed to be doing these things side by side with their sons. It just really helps if with real estate, whether it's your own or whether it's some for investment, whichever way. There's all kind of ways to do it, but that very much so lends itself to training of boys and their masculinity. And then going on to their young adulthood, we start gradually releasing, letting the line out and letting them experience that independence, and still guiding along the way, but kicking them out the nest a bit and saying to go on and use the things that you've been trained to do. Don't throw them away. Use them for the next family, at the service of the family. So in closing, just want to emphasize that there is a desperate need in today's society for masculinity on the part of men. There is quite a bit of masculinity being expressed by women due to the feminist movement. And there's a vast amount of masculinity that is being wasted, sitting on the sidelines by men who are not acting in their right way, being suppressed by whatever. Men not growing up, not taking life seriously, continuing perpetual juveniles, and being looked upon as another child in the home. This does not serve the family well. This is destructive to family life. And in order for this society to ever improve, it's got to be turned around. And so it's up to men with sons to instill these things in their sons and to raise them in this way, and to have us looking out for our daughters, and daughters to understand that they need to be, if they're called to marry life, to unite to a young man in this way, so that there will be a proper training of the children going forward. God bless you.